What is up, YouTube? It's Lions Fan Express coming at you with that man-to-man press. And in today's video, I'm going to give you guys my top 5 linebacker prospects for the 2023 NFL Draft. Now, I know that the linebackers have already kind of completed their combine process, already did their drills, their measurements, and all that stuff. This is actually my pre-combine list, so I actually had this list even before the combine, so this has no effect on it whatsoever. The guys I have on this list, you probably have heard of them or you've seen them. Might have some guys maybe a little bit lower, a little bit higher than maybe the general consensus do, but overall it's a pretty similar list of what you probably would see for most people. There is one exception though. There's going to be a guy that's a well-known name that is not on my top 5 list, and I will actually talk about him a little bit more in another video, but it's just I'm not very high on him as a prospect as some other people are, especially Lions fans who, he's kind of a fan favorite. So I'll address that at the end of the video, but I just kind of wanted to throw that out there and let you guys know who I think the top 5 prospects are in this draft. So with that being said, let's take a look. So at number 5, I have Damien Henley from Washington State. He's 6'2", 232 pounds. I watched his games against USC and then in the Senior Bowl. And then my player comp for him is Patrick Queen. So Henley is a smaller linebacker, but he plays with grit and has a high motor every play. He can blitz, he's a good coverage linebacker, and he can fly up to make tackles against the run. He is more of an arm tackler, so I'd like to see him hit with the shoulder a little bit more, but he's still a great linebacker in my opinion. Good tackler too. He might be limited to special teams and third down early in his career, but I think he can make a pretty gradual impact, on a 4-3 defense, or maybe even a 4-2. Definitely one of the sleeper linebacker prospects in this draft that could definitely hear his name sooner than later. And I think some people have him as like maybe a 3rd round pick or later. I could actually see him getting picked as early as the 2nd round. So don't be surprised if you hear his name being called on day 2. And then for number 4, I have Jack Campbell from Iowa. He's 6'5", 246 pounds. And then I watched his games against Iowa State and Kentucky. And then my player comp for him, he's kind of a taller, bigger Logan Wilson. So Campbell is a traditional 4-3 Mike linebacker. He's got great size, 6'5", 246 pounds. Those are traits that you can't teach, so he definitely has the physical tools, and he's tough and he gets involved in almost every play. I like Jack Campbell as a linebacker prospect, however, he does have some flaws that prevent me from loving him as a prospect. While he gets a lot of tackles, he also does miss quite a few tackles as well when you're watching his film. Again, if you just watch highlights, you're not going to see that, but he does have a pretty high missed tackle rate that concerns me. Just missing tackles, kind of being an average athlete, and failing to shred blocks from offensive linemen will hurt his draft stock. I think he's a day 2 prospect that falls in between the 2nd or 3rd round. Definitely can contribute on a team and potentially be a starter in the NFL. And at number 3, kind of a surprise pick here, but I have Damien Henley from Texas. He's 6'4", 224 pounds, so a little bit on the lighter side. But I watched his games against TCU, Oklahoma, and Iowa State. And my player comp for him is DeAndre Campbell. So Henley, he plays with his hair on fire. He's fast, he's aggressive, and he's a good tackler. He's also a good run stopper, and he can drop into zone. He's had 3 career interceptions. He's got upside as a blitzer. He's got 9 sacks in his career. So you can definitely utilize him in a lot of different areas. He's just a thumper, man. Like he likes to hit, and I can definitely respect that out of a player, especially in today's game when you obviously want to have a linebacker that can defend against the pass, but you still want that linebacker that is not afraid to tackle. He's definitely not afraid to tackle. Really like him as a linebacker prospect. I think he could be one of the best NFL-ready linebackers in this draft. So to me, he's a 2nd round pick who could creep up into the late 1st round. That's how high I am on him. Again, some people aren't as high, but if you watch his tape, trust me, you'll definitely fall in love. And at number 2, I have Drew Sanders from Arkansas. He's 6'5", 232 pounds. I watched his games against Texas A&M and Alabama, his former team. And my player comp for him is Tremaine Edmonds. Drew Sanders, he was a former Alabama edge rusher that transferred to Arkansas, and they kind of moved him to, the off-ball linebacker spot. definitely thrived in his only season doing that. And he's got great height, good sideline to sideline speed, is an effective blitzer, and can cover too. I think he had like 10 or 11 sacks as a linebacker, blitzing and stuff like that. So he's definitely effective. You can definitely tell that former edge rushing ability is still there, because he can definitely still get into the backfield and get into the quarterback. I like his versatility and the fact that he can just flat out ball. Like, he's just a ball player, and he's big. He's got a few flaws to his games though, but the biggest thing that he struggles with is just to get off blocks and fill proper run gaps. Sometimes, he just doesn't necessarily disengage and use his hands as not well enough to get off blocks, and then instead of, like, if the ball is going through like the C gap, he'll sometimes shoot the B gap and overrun the play. Again, I think Drew Sanders is a great linebacker prospect that is a late first round talent, and honestly he's right up there with the number one prospect in my eyes as one of the best linebackers in this draft. And at number one, before I give you guys that, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe if you like the video, and let me know who you think the number one linebacker prospect is in this draft. For me, it's Trenton Simpson from Clemson. He's 6'3", 240 pounds. I watched his games against Wake Forest, Georgia, South Carolina, and my player comp for him is the former Clemson Isaiah Simmons. So he's an amazing athlete that has good coverage skills. Like, he's the best coverage linebacker in this class, in my opinion, and it kind of shows because they use him as such a versatile player, and he's able to cover not just like as an inside backer, but also like he can play almost like a nickel slot kind of role as well, kind of like how Isaiah Simmons was used on the defense. He's pretty much a Swiss Army knife on defense, and he could definitely appeal to many teams who cover a linebacker who can cover, blitz, and has the size to line up in the box. There's not a lot to hate about his film. He just is a overall great player, good tackler, though sometimes he does need to wrap up a little bit better when it comes to tackling. But overall, to me, he's a mid to late first round talent, definitely the number one linebacker prospect in this draft, and definitely someone who who could help a team out right away and be a starter, an impact starter on an NFL team. So those are my top 5 linebacker prospects for the 2023 NFL draft. Again, like I said, the combine did not have any way whatsoever on these rankings. These are my pre-combine rankings, and the player that you guys probably noticed that isn't on this list, especially if you're a Lions fan, you probably have seen his name get thrown out a lot, especially when it comes to mock drafts, is Noah Sewell from Oregon. I'm actually going to be doing a video probably about him, or that includes him in the future, but again, I won't go into a lot of details, but like Noah Sewell, to me, he's a good player. Like, I'm not gonna dog him or anything like that. I'm not gonna say anything bad, but to me, he is just not a great fit for what I believe the Lions are trying to do, and what most modern NFL defenses are trying to do. And he just had a down year. Didn't have as many tackles in production as he did the previous years, and it was kind of underwhelming at times. He's definitely a smart player. He's a tough player, good blitzer, good tackler, but he really lacks that sideline to sideline speed. And even though he's had incidences where he's a pretty solid, he's had some plays in coverage, he's just not a great coverage linebacker on tape. So yeah, just not super high on Noah Sewell. And again, I know I'll touch about it more in a later video, but that's kind of why I left him out of this list. And actually, he's not even. I have some linebackers that are actually in front of him as well. But yeah, so if you guys have any questions about that, about my top 5 or about Noah Sewell, definitely let me know down below. I know that's kind of a heated topic with the fans. So if you guys want any info on that, I could definitely give that to you as well. And then my next position group should be cornerbacks, specifically DBs. So we'll do cornerbacks, and then we'll finish up with safeties. And then I'm not going to do any long snappers or punt returners, anything like that, or kickers. Again, I want to give them a shout out as well. They're great. They definitely have a place in the football game and can impact just about as any player. But I mean, it's just, to me, it's very hard to project them, especially when a lot of them don't get drafted. So yeah, but if you guys like the video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and we'll just kind of keep putting out content. Hope you guys are enjoy your weekend. Hope you guys, if you have time, tune into the NFL Combine and see what some of these guys can do. And with that being said, go Lions.